Netflix's The Crown chronicles Queen Elizabeth II's extraordinary reign after being thrust upon the throne at age 25. Initially starring Claire Foy and Matt Smith, the series has gone on to cast a number of great talents in its depiction of the royals. This is the truth of Netflix's The Crown. As The Crown went into production, reports emerged about the show's gargantuan budget, a testament to Netflix's commitment to getting every detail correct in what promised to be one of its marquee shows. As the Daily Beast reported, the show's alleged $130 million budget made it the most expensive television show in the history of the medium. But was it? In a subsequent interview with Express, series creator Peter Morgan threw a little reality into the mix. Claims that The Crown cost $130 million were not exactly on the money. He explained that the sky-high sum that was reported would have more accurately referred to the show's overall deal with Netflix, which had committed to 20 episodes over 2 seasons. None of the rumors were true, and it was sort of painful not being able to say it. Because we did a deal for 2 seasons, people thought that's what we were getting per season. Instead, he noted that a more accurate price tag for the show in its first 2 years would have been about $63 million per season, a hefty sum for a TV show, but certainly not enough to make it the priciest of all time. When Claire Foy took on the leading role in The Crown, she came to empathize with a young woman suddenly crushed under the weight of enormous responsibilities through a twist of fate. Foy said in an interview with The Telegraph, "On a human level, to lose her father when she was so young and to have 2 young children, and all of a sudden she has this huge responsibility, the weight of the world on her shoulders. You could say her life was cut short in a way. I feel a lot of sympathy for her, and the longer I've worked on this, the more my admiration for her has grown." After 2 seasons as Elizabeth, Foy told Entertainment Weekly what she felt was the biggest fallacy about the Queen. She said, "It's a misconception, I think, that the Queen is in a position of power. She has no power. She can't express power. She's a woman who is a mother and a wife and is seen as a leader, and she wears it all very lightly, as I think most women do." The Crown became caught up in Hollywood's gender gap salary controversy when producers confirmed reports Claire Foy was paid less than Matt Smith. Explaining the disparity was due to Smith's Doctor Who fame, producer Suzanne Mackey promised that would change. She insisted in the pages of Variety, "Going forward, no one gets paid more than the Queen." Foy addressed the controversy in 2018 as her seasons of The Crown were coming to a close. She was quoted by The Telegraph as saying, "It's really opened my eyes about what I am allowed to have an opinion about and what I'm allowed to stand up for myself about. And I think that's really changed my approach to myself and other women in this industry. It's been only a positive thing, even though embarrassing." Smith also weighed in, telling The Hollywood Reporter, "Claire is one of my best friends, and I believe that we should be paid equally and fairly, and that there should be equality for all."
What does that mean?
It means this needs a response. A robust response.
Tobias Menzies, who took over Smith's role in Season 3, shared his belief that things had indeed changed behind the scenes, telling Harper's Bazaar that, as far as he was aware at the time, he was being paid less than co-star Olivia Colman. Following the critically acclaimed second season of The Crown, which saw Claire Foy win the Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series award at the 2018 Emmys, series creator Peter Morgan revealed all the major roles would be recast with new actors as the storyline shifted to the mid-1960s through the late 1970s. In the role of the now middle-aged monarch, Morgan recast Elizabeth with Olivia Colman, who played a different British queen in the 2018 film The Favourite. Philip would be played by Tobias Menzies, while Princess Margaret would be portrayed by Helena Bonham Carter, who, interestingly enough, previously portrayed Margaret's mother in The King's Speech. Before accepting the role of Princess Margaret, Bonham Carter decided to seek the blessing of Margaret herself. Given that the princess died in 2002, this required the services of a psychic to contact Margaret in the great beyond. Bonham Carter told The Guardian, "She said apparently she was glad it was me. My main thing when you play someone who is real, you kind of want their blessing because you have a responsibility. So I asked her, 'Are you okay with me playing you?' And she said, 'You're better than the other actresses that they were thinking of.'" That quip from beyond the grave convinced Bonham Carter she actually was communicating with Princess Margaret. As she put it, "That is a classic Margaret thing to say. She was really good at complimenting you and putting you down at the same time." Then she said, "Get the smoking right. I smoked in a very particular way. Remember that. This is a big note. The cigarette holder was as much a weapon for expression as it was for smoking." Olivia Colman is a formidable and respected actress, yet she admitted she was nervous about joining the cast of The Crown. Speaking about the show's roster of actors for the first 2 seasons, Colman told the Sunday Post, "The cast are all amazing. I went in full of fear because you don't want to be the one who screws it up." Admitting she found it slightly stressful to join such a critically acclaimed series, Colman also revealed she'd once had a personal encounter with the monarch she would one day portray, running into her unexpectedly at a British film industry function. Speaking of the Queen, she recalled, "I met her once. It wasn't really a meeting, more a row of people shaking hands and curtsying. I didn't know she was going to be there. We all suddenly ended up in a queue and I couldn't work out why. Then I looked around the corner and there's the Queen and Prince Philip." Animals played a key role in the development of The Crown, but not how one might imagine. Josh O'Connor, who plays Prince Charles, revealed in an interview with Savoir Faire that movement coach Polly Bennett assigned each of the actors on the show an animal to help them develop the physical attributes of their respective characters. He explained, "Polly gave me a tortoise to help me figure out Prince Charles. It's in the way a tortoise retracts its head or has a lowered gaze that helped me the most. Also, he always tucks his hands in his pockets, like he's not sure what to do with them." For her portrayal of Princess Margaret, Helena Bonham Carter was presented with a very different creature. She revealed, "I was given a bird of prey. The back of Princess Margaret's head is further back than normal, which gives her a wider perspective of the room. She was always very aware of what's going on around her. And if you think about it, attack is the best form of defense, so she was ready to strike when she needed to." Because The Crown is dramatizing real events involving actual people, there's a temptation to believe that what's being presented on screen is historically accurate. However, that's not necessarily the case. Robert Lacey, the show's historical consultant, explained to Town & Country, "There are 2 sorts of truth. There's historical truth, and then there's the larger truth about the past." Speaking about the perspective he and series creator Peter Morgan have about the show's accuracy, Lacey said, "Peter is very, very insistent, and so am I, that this is not a history documentary. We are not pretending this is a chronological record of those years. There are lots of documentaries that do that sort of thing. This is a drama which picks out particular objects." At the same time, Lacey also insisted that the show isn't playing fast and loose with the facts for no reason. He added, "When history gets departed from, it's not done casually. It's done on the basis of wanting to convey a particular message that can only be conveyed by invention." Prince Charles actor Josh O'Connor provided a performer's perspective on the show's accuracy, saying, "We are creating a work of fiction, albeit based in some reality. But ultimately, there's only so much research you can do. After a time, you just got to crack on and create something for yourself." While The Crown has diverged from historical accuracy on numerous occasions, the 3rd season fictionalized a pivotal scene involving Prince Philip's estranged mother, Princess Alice, who had spent much of her life in a psychiatric institution before becoming a nun and devoting herself to charity work. In The Crown, Alice is interviewed about her complicated life by Guardian journalist John Armstrong. Their exchange results in a sympathetic newspaper article that softened public opinion of the royals after the PR nightmare caused by a previous Armstrong piece, a scathing review of a BBC documentary covering the royal family.
Well, it seems the documentary not only failed to achieve what I'd hoped for, it has somehow achieved the opposite.
According to the Sunday Times, however, none of that happened. John Armstrong didn't exist, Alice was never interviewed, and reviews for the real-life documentary about the royal family were actually pretty good. Meanwhile, royal biographer Hugo Vickers insisted that the depiction of Alice in The Crown is completely wrong. He said in an interview with Express, "Jane La Potere is a good actress, and most viewers warmed to her portrayal of Princess Alice, but she was nothing like that. She was almost stone-deaf and therefore somewhat remote, quite forthright, and rather austere." The 4th season of The Crown saw the storyline move to the 1980s, a decade that ushered in a notable new addition to the royal family, Princess Diana. Newcomer Emma Corrin was cast as the notorious royal. In a statement announcing her casting, Peter Morgan introduced her by saying, "Emma is a brilliant talent who immediately captivated us when she came in for the part of Diana Spencer. As well as having the innocence and beauty of a young Diana, she also has, in abundance, the range and complexity to portray an extraordinary woman who went from anonymous teenager to becoming the most iconic woman of her generation." In addition, former X-Files star Gillian Anderson was chosen to portray British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Anderson said in a statement, "Thatcher was undoubtedly formidable, but I am relishing exploring beneath the surface and, dare I say, falling in love with the icon who, whether loved or despised, defined an era." It was easy to feel sorry for Prince Charles in the third season of The Crown. In those episodes, the teenage prince is depicted as awkward and cloistered, the dysfunctional product of an aloof, demanding mother and a cold father whose every word drips with disappointment and disapproval. The Charles that viewers see in the fourth season, however, is older and more self-assured, yet still every bit the man-baby of the previous season. With the entrance of Diana, the prince had apparently evolved into a haughty, sulking bully who seethes at how his charming young wife continually upstages him simply by just being herself. Royal expert Hugo Vickers felt the fourth season's depiction of Charles was, quote, disgraceful. As he told Vanity Fair, they always like to portray him as kind of a wimp. This time, though, he's not only portrayed as a wimp, but also as a very angry, unpleasant person yelling at his wife. Vickers also took issue with the show ignoring how very dedicated the prince is to his royal duties, griping that The Crown, quote, didn't show a single thing that he does. An entire episode in the fourth season of The Crown is devoted to the bizarre but true story of how Michael Fagan managed to breach Buckingham Palace security by breaking in twice and somehow managing to make it to the Queen's bedroom, where they had a brief conversation before he was arrested. The series implies that Fagan's royal break-in was the result of his unemployment, divorce, and overall desperation thanks to the draconian policies of Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. His goal was to inform Her Majesty on what was actually going on with the common folk. The truth, however, is a little more complicated, and it turns out a lot more psychedelic. Fagan told The Independent in a 2012 interview, quote, "I don't know why I did it. Something just got into my head." That something, he believed, was the result of ingesting an insanely large amount of magic mushrooms a few months earlier. Regardless of whether or not that's true or even medically possible, Fagan claimed, "I forgot you're only supposed to take a little handful. 2 years later, I was still coming down. I was high on mushrooms for a long, long time." So what do the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh think about The Crown? Have they even watched it? During the early seasons of the show, Matt Smith recounted a rumor he had heard to The Telegraph, claiming someone he knew in the film industry had posed that exact question to the prince. In Smith's retelling, Philip responded curtly, "Don't be ridiculous." The Queen, however, has reportedly watched at least some episodes of The Crown. According to Express, her son Prince Edward and his wife Sophie encouraged her to check it out. As a source explained to the outlet, it has been a long-standing arrangement that they drive to Windsor at the weekend to join the Queen for an informal supper while watching TV or a film. They have a Netflix account and urged her to watch it with them. Happily, she really liked it, although obviously there were some depictions of events that she found too heavily dramatized. Of course, not everyone in the royal family feels the same way, especially about the later seasons of the show that hew closer to living memory.
This really is plumbing new depths of banality.
Reaction to the fourth season of The Crown from members of the royal family has reportedly ranged from ignorance to annoyance. As a palace source explained to the Daily Mail, these events are not the history of 100 or even 50 years ago. The pain is still raw and not enough time has elapsed. As royal biographer Sally Bidwell Smith explained, quote, "The Crown is a work of fiction and the level of invention has been growing." According to a report in The Times, Prince William was said to be royally irritated by the new season, with a source claiming the Duke of Cambridge felt that his parents were being exploited and recreated with a false and simplistic depiction. Also speaking with The Times, royal biographer Penny Junor said Charles would be, quote, incredibly upset if he were to see the way he was being depicted on the show. That is reportedly still a big if. A royal source told The Sun in November 2020, His Royal Highness has absolutely no views about it. He has never watched The Crown. Check out one of our newest videos right here, plus even more list videos about your favorite movies and TV shows are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.